Here at Bardstown High School, our motto is excellence, innovation, diversity, and diverse our schools certainly are. The halls are filled with students of all different races coexisting without thinking a thing about how it used to be or the battles fought to bring equality and diversity to our schools and to society. It wasn't but nearly 60 years ago that our schools were still segregated. In 1903, the Bardstown Training School was opened and remained open until the Nelson County Training School opened across the street in 1923. These schools provided educational opportunities for African Americans who were denied access to other public education at the time until public schools were integrated in 1959. Now let's take a personal look at the first-hand experiences of students of the training school and the newly integrated high school.
How was life different for you in a segregated community than it is now?
Well, in the days of segregation, I mean, we were born, I was born when it was segregated. So, it was normal for us then. You knew your limits. You grew up with that. So we just thought it was norm, something, just the life that we were living then, and everything was separate. We understood that. We didn't question that. But when you're born into something, it just becomes normal.
Describe the education you received at the training school.
We got good education at training school, I think, because we had good teachers, and they was really strict on us about getting our homework, being on time, being dressed. You had to come in dressed neat. Teachers was real strict on us. We had to get the work done, there's no doubt about it. But we had good, dedicated teachers at Bardstown High School, at Bardstown Training School. And they was real serious about black people getting a good education. They said that's the only way that we was gonna make it through this world. We had to get a good education.
We had quality education in Bardstown Training School. We had teachers that lived in our neighborhoods. Our parents were good friends of theirs, and we were all of the same culture. So they knew our needs. They didn't have to learn the differences because they already, we grew up, we were all African Americans, and it made it so much different than it is now. But they would always get the message home to your parents. And it was just like a big family. That's the difference from then and now. Bardstown High and Bardstown Training come together. The teachers over here and the staff, they were just so surprised that most of the students from Bardstown Training could read. That was one of the things that I remember the teachers telling us, that if you can't read, you can't do anything. So they would just push us to read. And most of the students that come over here, they could read. So, our teachers was just almost like grandparents or mothers and fathers, being of the same culture, knowing our needs.
During your time as a student, did you ever feel discriminated against?
Well, we had a basketball team at Bardstown Training School. We had to practice outside. We couldn't even get Bardstown High School gym to practice. They wouldn't let us practice over here in this gym. We had to practice outside. We had more dedicated. It made me more dedicated to playing basketball than anything I know of. But it deep down, that hurt me.
What were some other segregated places in Bardstown?
The swimming pool, it was a black swimming pool and a white swimming pool. The movie theaters, they were in the same building, but the bottom, where the bottom part of the theater, which was called the Melody, that was for white people. And then upstairs, it was called the Arco. And so that was segregated. The churches were segregated, all but St. Joe's Catholic Church. But at that time, they had a sign on the pews where black people had to sit, and it said colored. The water fountains, colored. The bathrooms. Mostly that was out here in Bardstown.
Like the white people downstairs, we had to go upstairs to the theater. And most of the time, I don't think we could go through the front door on one of them. We had to go around the back. Our father runs Logan Miller's Resting Club. And the white side was over on the left, and the color side was on the right. And you couldn't come across from the white side to the black side. That was kind of, I didn't care for that either, but it's what I grew up that way, and I just had to go by.
What did you like most about attending Bardstown Training School?
I think about Miss Johnson, our music teacher. I always loved to sing. She just takes so much time, and when we went out to perform, we would always be in the parents and all the neighbors, and it was just like a family thing. And this is kind of hard for me to say, but I used to be so shy. And I had a first grade teacher, and her name was Martha Lewis, and she was a real teacher. She was a born teacher, and she was I think like first, second, third, and fourth grade teacher, because we had that many classes in one room. And every summer we'd have a summer play, and I remember just like it was yesterday. One year, I guess I must have been in about the fourth grade, and I always loved to sing, and she would be teaching us our parts and playing on the piano, and I'd get up and I'd just slide up beside her, and I'd learn the songs and all. And then one day she asked me, she said, Rosie, would you like to be the Queen of Fairyland? Because that's what the play was. And I was just so happy. And you know, when she told me that and when she let me do that, it changed my whole life. It really did. I mean, I come out of my shell. I sit up there on that throne that night, and they had taken peonies. And I mean, they probably had ants and stuff crawling around on me, but I had my crown on, and I was the Queen of Fairyland. And you know what? She never, ever let me forget it. After I even growed up and left Bardstown and come back, and when I started working here, I got a job here in the district, she would send me a card. Every time my name was in the paper, she would say, my shy little Rosie. She said, I am so proud. I never, ever forgot it. Never.
What they was trying to do is make black people realize that they had to have an education. Some of the students probably thought they was hard on them by doing it, but I knew what they was after. They was trying to make us learn more. I loved all of them. I didn't give them no trouble. But they wanted you to get your education. That's what I liked about all of them.
Did the integration of Bardstown School affect your future in any way?
I think it did. I mean, it was in years to come because, you know, here I am. Back in the days before integration, I mean, I went to all-black school about 3 blocks from here, and we weren't allowed to come here. And now I work here. I'm a well-respected staff member. And so, yes, it did. Years to come, things I would have never, ever thought that back then. But that's what I try to tell the African-American students all the time. I'm standing on somebody else's shoulders. Somebody paved the way for me.
My kids wanted to keep it the same, but they said soon integrations, you know, schools changed. Well, nothing they could do but come on over. Because buses wouldn't pick them up. And they had to move from Rosetta Street to cross street from Bardstown High School. And they had to walk. They had to walk up here because the buses wouldn't pick them up. You go into integrated school, maybe you'll learn more. I don't know. I said, it's possible that you get some things over there that you didn't get over here, but he said they'd rather stay where they were.
What were some obstacles you faced as a young person going through this transition?
We've seen it rough, I think, more when we were playing ball than anything I know of. Because we just didn't have a place to play, and it bothered us because places was here. They had gyms here, but we couldn't get in.
Integration changed Bardstown High School in many ways. What do you think are the positive outcomes of which our students benefit today?
The sky's the limit for them. You know, when I graduated from high school, it was just a wonderful thing if you graduated. It wasn't just like you knew that you were going to go to college, because some of us didn't know because our parents really couldn't afford it. I have a memory book, and I look at it now, and this because I graduated in 1958, and all my friends and anybody that wrote in that memory book, they were wishing Joe and I, my husband of 50-some years, that we, that a beautiful life together. And I look at it now, and nobody ever said anything about going to school, going to college. Because if you completed 12 years of school, you had done something. But it's no limit today. And I look at sports now, and all the guys that could play basketball. My husband, he's in the Athletic Hall of Fame here now, Joe Dodson, and he was a 30-point-a-game man. He got to go to New Orleans to college, but, I was just thinking if he had come by in this day and time, colleges all over, NBA, they would be seeking him. They just didn't have that chance. But the kids nowadays has it, and it's up to them to take that. I was a cheerleader from the time I was in the 7th grade, and guess where we practiced at? In the furnace room, where the furnace was. And I graduated in 58, and the integration came about in 59. And my sister, she and 2 other little black girls, they integrated Bardstown High. I think about that now. 3 little black girls in a climate of maybe 400 or 500 white people. And my sister talks about it. She said they were just terrified. She said it was just so hard. And I think they went to the 7th grade, and all 3 girls quit school, never did finish school. When we were just maybe freshmen in high school, all the African American girls, they had jobs. When school would be released every day, it would be cars of white women, rich white women, out in front of the school, waiting for us to come out and go to their house and maybe babysit, cook, clean, iron. And this was every day. And we would go there, we'd get there maybe about 3:30, and we wouldn't get home until 7:30 at night. You'd see black girls just pushing little white kids in the strollers, and they'd all meet on the corner and talk to each other. But that was a normal thing. It was just something, and if you don't know any better, they said when you know better, you can do better. But as the years went on, you'd ask some of these kids to do something like that today, they would think you've lost your mind. Mm-hmm. But again, if you don't know any better, you can't do any better. But when you know better, you need to do better. I pray that one day that we will come to the realization that relationships are more than color.
Yeah. You know, we're saying we come a long way.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.